I'm at the Omni Hotel with Romney Evans of TrueFit today. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm excited to be here at the Omni Hotel. My name is Romney Evans. We'll be speaking about omni-channel technology. Glad to be here.
I like where this interview is going already. So tell me, what is TrueFit, please?
So TrueFit is we think of it as a discovery platform for that enables retailers to help customers, help their customers find clothes and shoes that they'll truly love and that they'll keep. And that's really that's kind of the mission of the company. But for us, when we think about sort of our role that we play in the kind of between end consumers and retailers, we really it goes back to some fundamental beliefs that we have. One is that we really believe that true fashion is personal at its core, and that people buy things because and they wear things because those things reflect little hints about who they are as a person, and that people are constantly looking for things that are sort of resonate with them at a very basic level. And we think that we have some tools that help consumers and ultimately help retailers help consumers do that job in their lives, which is finding things that they'll love. But it's hard to do online. Clothing has historically been very challenging for digital retailers. Still, only about 12% of apparel and footwear is purchased online, and that's very low compared to other consumer categories where you might have 50% or even 70% volume happen online. Think of consumer electronics, books, media, entertainment, music, some of those categories that are matured. But apparel and footwear is a very exciting category. It's one of the fastest growing consumer categories. It's growing at about 11% per year. Mm-hmm. And so it's really, we think of it as sort of the final frontier of the consumer web, where there's a lot of exciting growth still to be had. But the fundamental challenge for the consumer is that clothing is different. It's special. It's people have a lot of hesitancy to make purchases on screen because of these issues of fit and size, and just not sure that the item is going to work out for them on a variety of ways.
Okay, so your focus right now, at least, is on clothing, apparel, and shoes. Can you tell me on each one of these, I guess, scenarios, how the software actually works?
Yeah, sure. So a consumer that is shopping for clothes or shoes, they're on a retailer's website. We work with a lot of popular retailers, everyone from Macy's to Nordstrom to Lord & Taylor, Kate Spade, Adidas, Under Armour. There's a long list of retailers that have this on their site. So as the consumer shopping, they find something. Here's the main use case. They see something that they're interested in. Let's say I choose a pair of jeans. I'm looking on that product detail page. I'm checking out the information, trying to decide if this is something I should buy. Well, right near the size selection area, there's a little button or link that says Find Your True Fit. You click on that, and then we very quickly ask the customer a couple of questions. It takes about 30 seconds, and we'll ask them, hey, tell me about a pair of jeans that you currently wear. What brand is it, and what size do you wear in those jeans? Tell us about one that currently fits you great, and then we're going to use that information for us to tell you how these jeans that you're looking at on this site at this moment are going to fit you. So the user does that, then they can even answer some optional questions around body type or height, weight, and age, and we crunch a lot of data to then give them a personal fit rating and size recommendation. We can also give them fit details that is kind of a 2D visualization of how we expect that item to fit the user in each of their key body areas. And the way we're able to do this, keep it so lightweight for the consumer on the front end, is that we have three major sources of data that we are kind of doing a lot of heavy lifting, data crunching on the background. So we get, from a network of brands, we get really detailed product specifications. So this is thousands of brands, represents millions of styles, spans all categories of footwear and apparel. And essentially what the product spec data is when a designer creates a garment, they create some blueprints that help a manufacturer know how to make that pattern, that design that they've created, and that information contains points of measure for all the key points of the garment. It includes fabrication, and on top of that, we do some data enriching. So we put on a layer of style data on top of that. We use a special platform that allows us to, at really high scale, identify over 100, sometimes 200 attributes, style attributes about a garment. So this combination of technical data and fit data is really valuable in us understanding when somebody says, I wear Michael Kors in a size 6, we really know the data behind that. We know kind of the points, we know what that represents in terms of data, in terms of style, in terms of points of measure. And then the other thing that we do is when the user creates a profile, they tell us some really basic information. It's really important that we keep it light. We don't get any personally identifiable information from the customer. It really just gives us a sense that user XYZ has a certain set of attributes that we understand. And then we're also, we're using anonymized transaction data to be able to map the relationship between users and garments. So again, we don't get any personally identifiable information, so we don't know who any of the users are. We just see that user 123 bought these 3 items in the past, and they told us now that they're favorite. So we take that data and we're able to understand at a very high level. We're then able to see, which personal attributes and which garment attributes combine to create successful purchases.
Okay, so what is the actual implementation on the retailer side? You give them, is it like an API that they use or a plugin, or how does that work?
Yeah, great. So the standard software as a service integration includes a couple of lines of JavaScript that goes on the actual page of the site. And it really just identifies for us a user ID. We can't see the personal information of a user, but we just know that this is user 123 and it's not 156, and a garment ID, and that allows our service to then call our servers, which has access to all this rich data behind the scenes. It has very sophisticated algorithms and artificial intelligence to basically make decisions about how well the item they're looking at is going to fit them. So then we serve up in the space on their page that little recommendation. So in terms of integration on the front end for retail, it's very light. It's literally a couple scripts of code. There's some back and forth that happens for us to configure the look and feel to match the retailer's site, but that work is on our team and the retailer just has to approve it. And then on the back end, there are 3 major data feeds the 3 key data feeds that we typically get from retailers to help the machine learning of the system get smarter over time, which is a catalog feed, it's a transaction feed, and these are all anonymized, and a transaction feed. Transaction feed is basically 2 feeds. It's sales and returns, and then we've got a catalog feed, which tells us which items are live on the site at any given point in time. So those are the 3 feeds essentially.
Okay, so you are actually, TrueFit is able to take that data and make the system even learn as it gets more data about that specific customer?
Yes.
How do you track that specific customer? And do you do that across different retailer sites? If a customer goes from Nordstrom to Macy's and to Kohl's, do you know who it is? I mean, anonymously.
Yes. The simple answer is yes, but there are use cases where it doesn't work. So, like most software services, we use a basic cookie that is on the user's browser, identifies them, so that if they create a profile at one site, the profile really is owned by the customer, and so the customer can take that with them as they shop at different sites, so that if they created a profile at one place, they don't have to go do it all over again at another favorite store that they like to shop at. So they arrive there and they're going to start seeing personal recommendations for them without having to do any more work. And so that's really the value. They will need to save their profile with some basic credentials, or with their Facebook account, or something, any of those options, if they want to be able to use that profile across devices. So we give them that option. It's not a requirement. And so obviously, if you're just shopping as a guest and haven't created a profile, and if they change machines, of course that's not going to work. But ultimately, it's just it's up to the consumer. They can choose.
Okay.
If they want to save it to use on their mobile phone or on their desktop. And
Okay.
does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what's the result when retailers use TrueFit? How does it actually help improve ROI? Or conversion, right? That's basically the goal.
Sure. Yeah. So there's a lot of results have been shared publicly by some of our retailers. Generally speaking, we tend to see about a 5% increase in incremental net revenue site-wide when they put it on. And anecdotally, it makes sense, like when you think of what it's actually doing. So, you have customers, most people, I think Forrester Research has published that 67% of in-store purchases are mobile influenced. And and a lot of what people are doing when they go online is they're browsing, they're looking for inspiration, but many people are hesitant to make those purchases online because there's this confidence gap between what they see and what they think they're going to get. And so what TrueFit does, the effect it has, is conversion rates for consumers go up. Usually around the people who engage with TrueFit is about a doubling of the conversion rate for that group of users. Now that's just the group of users who engages, but when you spread that benefit across the entire site, it ends up being about a 5% incremental revenue lift. So if you're $1 billion retailer, we'll find you about $50 million. And that's after we subtract, that's incremental. So that's us subtracting out the baseline metrics of the retailer, subtracting out the sales that we think would have happened anyway without TrueFit on the site.
Okay.
So it's really about increasing consumer confidence. So that goes up, and then we see return rates come down. And I think we've seen things shared publicly. I can think of off the top of my head, Kate Spade in some of the Q2, Q3 earnings reports with Wall Street shared that the users who engaged with TrueFit saw a doubling of their conversion rate, and they saw that return rates went down by about 18%. So the biggest lever is really giving confidence to find incremental revenue through new users, turning browsers, so window shoppers, into buyers. But then the gravy, I guess, is the reduction in return, so that every one of those sales that goes through that funnel is more profitable because you're taking a lot of the returns cost out of it. There's no silver bullet for returns. It's so complex and nuanced. But this is making a huge dent, especially in the size sampling based returns. There's also style sampling based returns where people are buying multiple styles before making a decision which one they want. And I think the way that we're trying to influence that is as we start to power deeper and deeper levels of discovery. So not just powering confidence on the product detail page, but actually starting to influence which items surface to the top of a sort on like a catalog page. Then I think we are more efficiently starting to steer customers towards the items where they're most likely to have a successful sale. And I think that's a huge area of benefit for retailers over the next year or so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
And I should also just say, and some of that can also be consumed via APIs. So we can actually give, there are product recommendation engines out there that work with a lot of the retailers we work with. We can actually give them APIs into our recommendations about fit and size and sort of personal style affinity as well. to help their recommendations get smarter.
Okay.
So we're, we think that that this data, this unique data set, and the insights can be consumed by a broad range of service providers, not just the retailers themselves, but everyone who's trying to help consumers find stuff that they're going to love and keep.
Right. It seems like that data can also be presented in an interesting way, where you would say returns, for example, for specific styles of clothing, men, women, age groups, how things are, historically, how they work. So because you have access to all of that information.
Yes, absolutely. So we are going through a process. We provide a lot of these insights to our retail partners. We're always trying to enhance the way that those insights are productized, because some of the special reports are pretty complicated in terms of delivering back to retailers. The analysis is really exciting though. So yeah, exactly what you said. You can do some really cool things. You can look at the garments that are selling really well. You can drill down and see the profiles of the customers in terms of body type and size and brand affinity in a way that retailers haven't really seen before. You can do the same thing with underperforming garments, styles that are being purchased but have a disproportionately high return rate. You can start to see who's buying these products and what does their profile look like. And what we've found in doing this with some of our retailers is there's a lot of opportunity to identify white space of growth. For example, one retailer took these insights, and the finding was that there were 2 additional gene cuts that they recommended to their product team that they build, because they saw that there was a very active consumer who was much curvier than their current portfolio of products service well. And so they felt that they were, serving really well about 50% of the people shopping their site, and there was another 50% of the people shopping their site who did not have a lot of great options. They did not have depth of items that would work well for that customer. So a really big growth opportunity was identified for that place. Another example is a UK brand that was coming to the US with a big department store launch, felt that their sizing system was very different than their sort of other relevant brands that were kind of US counterparts to that brand. And so, and when they saw really high return rates for their products. And so the retailer recommended they actually get in touch with us, and we were able to show them in the data that yes, like we can't share data of any one specific brand with another specific brand, but we could create essentially a data index of relevant brands and look at the key points of measure for the same class of goods. And you can see that the UK brand, as you might suspect, was inches smaller in all of the key body areas than the sort of US counterparts. And so what was helpful is they could then make some strategic decisions. They could say, okay, so this market, we either have to just embrace a differentiation strategy where we're even differentiating in our fit and our sizing, and we need to rely on tools like TrueFit, and we need to educate sales associates to better understand our product, or we can adjust our sizing to be more consistent, our sizing for US products to be more consistent with what's being sold effectively to those customers. And that's just scratching the surface. There are tons of insights that can really benefit marketing, benefit merchandising in terms of, do you have the right mix of products for the customers that are shopping your brand, and then product development. Are there ways that we could optimize the measurements that we're using? Are we should we be contemplating different classes of goods or different silhouettes? All those things. So there's a ton of optimization there that can be done, and we're excited about what we've seen so far, but we also feel like we're just scratching the surface as we try to productize and kind of automate a lot of those cool insights. So very exciting.
So, really quickly, what would be like the top 2 or 3 things on your product roadmap for the next year that you can share?
Yeah, cool. So we're doing some cool in-store stuff that we're debuting some of that in partnership with Intel at NRF, which we'll be excited to showcase. I'm not going to say too much there. But then also, I think a main area of focus for us right now is the combination of discovery. So our discovery engine that's going to open up early in 2017, and this is what we talked about helping customers. It's essentially a ranked recommendation engine that's based not just on fit and size, but it's all about the styles that are most likely going to resonate with an individual consumer. And then data as a service, so making everything from insights to recommendations available to lots of partners via APIs to help make their products and systems better and smarter.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yes,
Romney.
thank you. Thank you very much, Darius. Appreciate it.